So guys, welcome back to another module of the Quantum Leap Ecomm Agency program. Now in this module guys, we are going to be starting off the business's operations week. Now in this week, we're basically just going to be going through everything that you need to do in order to implement into your agency in order for it to run as streamlined and as efficient as possible. Okay, so we need to figure out, onboarding and there's a few things that I really want to cover in this week that is literally going to separate you from everybody else in the agency space and just really help your agency run as I said before, as streamlined and as efficient as possible. Okay guys, I'm super excited for this week. I think it's going to be very valuable to a lot of you guys out there. So with that being said, let's dive into this module. And as I said before, to kick off this week, I want to be going through understanding who our client avatar is. Okay, this is such an important concept to understand because this is literally going to depict what type of clients you work with, how happy you are within your agency as well. Because if you work with terrible clients, it's not a fun time. Trust me, I've been there, I've done it. It's not a fun time at all. So as I say, this is going to depict how happy you are in your agency. So it's a very important module. Definitely going to be a longer one, but as I say, super excited to get stuck into it. So with that being said, let's get stuck straight into it. So understanding our client avatar. So here's what we're going to cover in this module. Okay, we're going to be covering what a client avatar means. Okay, if you don't understand kind of what the actual concept means, as I said before, we're going to be going through exactly what it actually means, so that you know exactly what to look out for, what I'm trying to imply by going through client avatar, etc. Next, we're going to look at who our client avatar is. So once we understand what a client avatar is, we're going to look at who our ideal client avatar is. Okay, and then as I said, we're going to finish it off with looking at exactly what our client avatar looks like. So when you go out and try and bring on a client, you know exactly whether that specific client suits our client avatar or not. Okay, as I say, these are very important concepts that we must understand. So with that being said, let's dive straight in. So what is a client avatar? So a client avatar is essentially a perfect client. Okay, that's basically all it is, right? Client avatar is just literally a perfect client. So just like when we run ads for brands, we need to figure out who their target audience is so that we can serve that specific audience ads and put a compelling message in front of them so that they convert. We follow the same protocol, okay, for our own clients. So this protocol of figuring out exactly who the target audience is and then finding out where they kind of live and then putting a compelling message in front of them. Okay, this is what we want to be doing in Facebook ads, and obviously we've got the whole service delivery week where we'll discover this concept a lot more in detail. But this kind of protocol, this kind of mindset, we need to imply within our own agency and for our own clients. Okay, and so the reason it is vital you understand who your client avatar is, okay, is because it will enable you to exactly pinpoint where they congregate, and also it will increase the caliber of clients that you work with. Okay, so as I said before, understanding exactly who the client avatar is so important. Okay, and as I say, client avatar meaning a perfect client, because if you, if a client comes to you, or you reach out to a client, because from face value they qualify, and again, in the next week's section of the program, we're going to be going through outreach. So you'll get my kind of qualification process and all of that type of stuff. Like you'll get my exact qualification process and all that type of stuff. So if you reach out to a client because they look qualified from face value, but then as you start to go through, because you don't know who your client avatar is, you may bring them on board and think, oh, that's amazing, I've got my first client. But then you start to realize throughout the process that this client is a terrible client. They're really just not the type of client you want to be working with. It's not the type of caliber of client you want to be working with. Yet you're like 2 months into the process. It's just, you would have wasted so much time. You would have, another thing that happens as well is you get really demotivated because you just feel as though, you've been trying so hard to get a client and you've got a client and now you hate working with that client. you know, and you may feel as though like may be one of the most demotivating things ever, because you know it's like you've been on this challenge, and you finally got the goal, but the goal just wasn't as you know, it's not as good as you thought. So it's just like the biggest demotivating thing. It's the biggest kind of kick in the gut, if you like. But the way that we counteract that, the way that we stop this problem from happening, is truly understanding who our client avatar is. As I say, you'll be able to, you know, once you know exactly who your client avatar is, which you will be able to, which you will know that after this module, you'll be able to weed them out. You know, the people who don't fit our client avatar, you'll be able to weed them out probably for the most part before you even get on the call. Okay, if you have some sort of interaction, you'll know straight away. But definitely once you're on the call, you'll be able to weed them out, so you only ever work with amazing clients. Okay, and as I said before, the way you only ever work with amazing clients is by truly knowing exactly who your client avatar is. Okay, so let's get back into it. So client relationships, okay, and I've already kind of touched on this, but your client relationships will also increase when you know exactly who your client avatar is. Okay, and this is because you will only ever work with clients who not only have a great business, you know, but also are just a genuinely great human being who you genuinely get along with. And as I touched on before, this will increase your happiness tenfold when running your agency. Trust me, there is nothing worse than working with a terrible client who wants blood from you. Okay, so as I say, just client relationships as a whole, it will increase so much because you're only ever working with amazing businesses, super cool brands, you know, innovative, quirky brands, and also the owners of those businesses are just very cool people. You know, they're just genuinely a great person. You know, I'm sure you guys have met some of those people in your lifetime where it's just like, you just love that person. Like, they're just so happy. They're just so, such good people to be around. And this is the type of clients that you actually want to work with with your agency, because as I said, this is going to then go ahead and depict how happy you are actually running your agency. Okay, so we're thinking long term here. Obviously, if you're in the program, you know to never think in 5-month stints, rather in 5-year stints. And honestly, guys, this module is just going to serve as that foundation to your happiness throughout the next 5, 10, 15 years of running your agency, because you will only ever work with amazing people. Like, it's just the perfect thing ever, because, you know, even if you have a day job, for example, I'm sure there's that one person at your day job where, you know, it's just like, oh, you just hate working with them. You're like, oh, John is on today, like, oh, it's not good. And so imagine working with like 10 clients that are like that. Like, that's the reality of it if you don't understand who your client avatar is, okay? So identification, okay? So in addition, when we come across a prospect who fits our client avatar, then we know that we can comfortably move forward with that specific prospect and push to get them on board, right? You know, we wanna push to get them to sign on as a client because we know that they fit our client avatar, so they're a perfect client. Conversely though, if we come across a prospect who doesn't fit our client avatar, then we know to move on straight away. Like, we just leave them and we move on because they do not fit our client avatar. This will save you so much time, guys. I can't stress this enough. It will save you so much time. Rather than waiting till you've signed the client on, then realizing month 2 that they're just a terrible client, we can sift through the tire kickers, quote unquote, early on by knowing our client avatar. As I said, guys, it's gonna save you so much time. You're not gonna need to, you know, in some cases, you don't even need to have the 45-minute call with the prospect, because you already know straight away from the emails you've had back and forth, whatever it is, you just know straight away, so you can just drop them and just move on. It's gonna save you so much time. You can be so ruthlessly efficient with your agency by knowing who your client avatar is, okay? And as I said, a client avatar is essentially a perfect client. So now that we know what our client avatar is, now that we know kind of the importance of knowing our client avatar, now let's look at who is our client avatar, okay? Who are they? Well, this is our client avatar, okay? Number 1, clients who do not micromanage, okay? So our client avatar is clients who do not micromanage. Our client avatar is informal / non-corporate clients, okay? It's clients who do not ask about price, clients who qualify on 5 or more of the 6-part qualification process that we're going to be going through in the later modules in the next week. Unmatched outreach, we're going to be going through that 6-part qualification process. So you only want to bring clients on board who qualify on 5 or more of those 6-part qualification points. And number 5 there, clients who understand the expectations. Okay, guys, so for the most part, you know, there's certain things that differ between agency to agency, right? So my agency may differ slightly to your agency, and your agency may differ slightly to another student in the program's agency and whatnot. This, however, stays constant through every single agency, okay? Even if you're not in the Ecomm niche, obviously if you're in the program, you are in the Ecomm niche. However, even if you had a local business agency, okay, a local business agency, this client avatar would still be constant for you at that point, because like these points are so crucial that your clients meet, that your clients match these points. It's so crucial because of all the points that I discussed before, and just like anybody who doesn't suit these points, that I can guarantee you they're going to be a terrible client, and you're almost going to feel as though you wish you didn't have the client. That it's that bad, okay? So let's have a look at exactly what our client avatar looks like. Obviously, this is a broad overview. This is like, you know, points 1 through 5. It's just saying like a broad statement, but let's go on the granular detail and look at exactly what our client avatars look like, okay? So first point, clients who do not micromanage. So micromanaging, okay? Micromanaging refers to when people control every aspect of something, okay? So usually managers and employees micromanage their employees. So, you know, when you've got the manager on, you know, you're at your day job and the manager's working, and you just hate it because they're just, you know, consistently like seeing what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, have you done this, have you done that? That's micromanaging, okay? And so with clients, if they micromanage you, they will be constantly messaging you, asking you why you did X, Y, and Z. They will be continuously asking you to do different stuff, etc. Honestly, guys, having a client who micromanages you is the worst thing ever. Because like I say, you never, and I don't want to ramble on because I'm going to cover it in these next 2 points here about micromanaging, but you just never get the freedom to do what you want to do. They're always messaging you every single day, wanting to hop on a call with you every day. I remember I had one client like this back when I first started out with my agency. He literally messaged me every single day asking for a call. Like, if a client does that, even if you're in a 3-month contract, cut the contract and run away as far as you can from that client. Like that's the highest point of micromanaging. I had it, and this is why I'm just so passionate about this, because like it is quite literally the worst thing ever. Okay, so another thing that micromanaging kind of implies is that you become a slave. Okay, you become a slave. So if you get a client who micromanages you, you will essentially become a slave to their business, and this is something that you do not want. I don't know about you, but I built an agency to become a respected business owner, not to become an indirect employee of multiple businesses and to be treated like one. Okay. Also, a client who micromanages you restricts you from performing your services at the highest level and restricts your freedom. Okay, so as I kind of touched on before, you just don't have the freedom to do what you and your team do best, which is just deliver results in a timely manner, not in your own time. You're still doing it in the 3 months and in the, all that type of stuff, but you just do it in your own time kind of thing. You don't need the client to be messaging you every single day to, ask where that piece of copy is or ask where that image is. Obviously, if it's been weeks and you've not done anything, then yeah, you're gonna get messages from the client. But if it's every single day they're asking for a call, they're messaging you, asking about all this different stuff, like they're just terrible clients. They're just honestly just an absolute pain. And as I kind of touched on there, when you sign on with a client, you become the same, you're on the same level as that client. You do not become an employee of their business. Hence, they cannot treat you like an employee of their business, right? As I said in the first point, usually managers and employers micromanage their employees, okay? So you do not become an employee of a business when you sign on with them, right? When you sign a client on board, you're not an employee of their business. You're a service. You offer a service to them, okay? And you are on the same level as the client. So because of this, as I touched on before, they cannot manage you and micromanage you more specifically like an employee, like they do with their employees of their business. It doesn't happen. And so as I said, if this does happen, if a client does start doing this and treating you in this way, you have to leave your house. And some clients will want to do that. Some clients will want to treat you like an employee. And as I say, it's tough to adopt this when you're starting your agency, because when you're starting your agency, you really want to get a client on board. And if you get a client on board for $2,500 per month, then, I understand it's tough to kind of turn that money away and leave that client and move up, try and get another client when you've literally got $2,500 sat there, right? But honestly, as you progress through your agency, you will realize that having clients who fit this client avatar is far more important than any retainer that they could ever pay you, okay? And just to touch on that final point there, those who are notorious, okay? Those who are notorious. So you would think, okay, logically, you would think the clients who are paying you the most would micromanage you the most, as they have a lot on the line, okay? They have a lot on the line, right? They're paying you $7,000 a month or $10,000 a month. They've got a lot on the line, so you'd expect them to micromanage you the most. But it's actually the polar opposite. The clients who are most notorious for micromanaging you are the ones on the cheapest retainers, okay? And so often this is due to the fact that these clients need that money back and they get easily flustered within their business, okay? And so you need to stay away from these types of clients. That's probably contrary to popular belief, because you probably think the clients who are on the bigger retainers, they're naturally gonna be more micromanaging because they've got more to lose. It's the complete opposite. It's the clients who are on $1,000 a month micromanage you so much. They micromanage you so much because that 1,000 to them, they need that money back. They have to get that money back. Otherwise, they're gonna start losing a lot of money per month because they're a smaller business. So this is why also you always want to try and get bigger brands, because they just, $5,000 per month to a brand, to a brand of size is nothing, right? So they don't really care. So they kind of just let you do your thing. They're the clients that you want, okay? So let's move on. Next point, informal/non-corporate clients, okay? So informal clients, this isn't mandatory, okay? This isn't, these are the points that we're gonna go through or have been through and are going to go through. They are mandatory. You cannot get clients who micromanage you, etc. However, this one isn't mandatory, but I personally always strive for informal/non-corporate clients, okay? Informal clients are not only a blast to work with, but you will find that you will develop a really good friendship with the owner. And it also makes running your agency a breeze, as you feel relaxed being around them and you're not on the edge 24/7. Okay, so I know you probably think getting corporate clients would be so good because they can afford so much and all that type of stuff. But I way prefer, and actually all of my clients right now are all super informal. They're non-corporate. They're still making $100,000, $200,000 a month. Some are on the track to doing $500,000 a month and stuff like that at the point of recording this, at least. But they're just not formal, right? They're not formal, they're very, very informal. And so it's just so much easier and more fun to work with because they're just like you and I, right? They're just like us, but they've just built an Ecomm brand that's making X, however much. So they're just like us. You can just really, really connect with them on a deeper level than the super corporate clients. And so, like I say, it's not mandatory. But if you've got a corporate client or an informal client, I always go the informal client route, okay? So as I say, corporate clients. So you will find with corporate clients that for the most part, they are just very boring. At the end of the day, it just comes down to that. They're just boring. And also I have found that they are very much stuck in old ways and are very, very similar to local businesses, okay? And so the reason I find corporate clients hold the same traits as local businesses is because if you get a corporate Ecomm client, it's probably because they have either migrated from a local business to online, or they have an online sector, but majority of their revenue comes through their shop front. So as I kind of touched on in a few previous modules, in a previous module, you guys need to understand that the e-commerce world has really only been, as I said in the last module, like I'd say 10 years at best. Again, I don't know exact numbers, but 10 years at best, I'd say. I'm really only in the last 5-ish years it's really flourished. And so, like all people who are being successful in e-com, they're very, very, it's very, very new. It's a very, very innovative market. And so if you get a corporate e-com client, they have probably migrated from a local business and gone online because they see the trend, or they've got a shop front, which is where majority which is their 90% of their business, and they've just got an online sector because they know they should, right? And so these are the type of corporate clients, and this is why they hold the same traits as local businesses do. And corporate clients can also result in micromanaging because they're so set in their own ways. Corporate clients are very, you've got the CEO, the CFO, the COO, then you've got your managers and your employees and all that type of stuff. So they're very much set in that old way structure, and they're very much, the managers all need to hit their targets and all that type of stuff. And so because of that, they just follow that same traits that they have, they follow that over to you. And as you know, we do not become an employee of their business. Some e-com brand owners, some clients will think that, okay? They will think that, but you need to tell them that you're not. And if they understand that, and this is another point we're gonna get onto, but if they understand that initially and you sign on, and then you can start to see that they don't understand this and they start to treat you like an employee, again, have to get away. And you will find that with corporate clients as well. And then on top of that, I just find them boring. I mean, there's not really much else for me to say. Like, I just find them boring. I just think informal clients, especially e-com brands, informal e-com brand clients are just so cool to work with. Sometimes we have the same hobbies. Like, I've got a big watch hobby. And there's one client that I can think of, he's super into watches as well. And we just, really bond over over that, on calls and whatnot. You just never get that with corporate clients, okay? And last but not least, they're just a hassle, okay? In all, corporate clients are just a hassle. They're not pleasant to work with, They are a hassle in that they usually need to, you usually need to go through 32 people to get to the owner, and then once you have gotten them as a client, and if you want to publish a new ad or a new piece of copy, it will need to go by another 24 pair of eyes to get the all clear. Like, there's just so many people in a corporate business where, like I say there, if you want to publish a new piece of copy, it's got to go through like 13, 15, 20 people just to get approved. Whereas with informal e-com clients, it's like almost just your team member, them, the owner themselves, and maybe one other person that they have on their end in the Slack channel. So it's just very, very tight knit. You just say to the owner, are you happy with this piece of copy? Yeah, no worries, bang, you can put it out. It's not like that with the corporate clients, okay? With corporate clients, you gotta go through, like I say, 32 people to get to the owner. You gotta go through another 24 people to get anything published. It's just an all in all hassle. So, those are the reasons why I only ever work with informal / non-corporate clients. However, if you were to not abide by one of these points that we go through in terms of client avatar, definitely is this one, as it's not 100% mandatory. It's just, I just prefer it, okay? So clients who don't ask about pricing. Now this, like all the other ones, as I say, apart from this one, this is all mandatory, okay? Clients who do not ask about pricing. So quality clients don't ask about pricing, okay? Quality clients do not ask about pricing. I get so many students messaging me about what the best response is to a client who asks about prices straight off the bat, They've done their outreach and their client responds saying, how much is it? And they don't know how to respond to that kind of quote unquote objection. So they message me and ask me, and every single time I have the exact same answer every time. And my answer is move on, okay? My best clients never even mention prices until the last 10 minutes of the sales call, okay? I have never had a client who asks about pricing up front go on to be an amazing client to work with, okay? So, all the way up until the very last 10 minutes of the sales call, which is where like they literally cannot move forward without knowing the price, you know what I mean? So they have to ask at that point. If they ask any point up until then, they're just not gonna be a good client, okay? They're just not gonna be a good client, especially, I think as I go on to say here as well, but especially if you do your outreach and they reply to your outreach email saying, what's the price? Or how much is this? Or how much is this gonna set me back? Don't even entertain it, okay? I mean, if you want, you could have like a copy paste kind of script where you just say, you know, something along the lines of, look, I actually ensure that I get all clients onto a discovery call before I talk about prices so that I can truly depict what a good price is for you specifically, as my services are tailored to clients individually as opposed to like more of a package plan. You know, you could just create like a little script like that and just copy and paste, send it to every single one. But, you know, for me, at least looking at me and my outreach, I move on. I don't even entertain those conversations because as I said, I have never ever had a client who asks about pricing up front, then go on to be an amazing client to work with. It's never happened, okay? As I say, all my best clients, you know, just the amazing clients to work with, don't ever mention price until like the last 10 minutes of the sales call, okay? So, the reasoning. If a client asks for your prices straight away, it shows you that money is either tight for them or that they want something for nothing. And so whatever the reason is, long term, it will never work out with that client. And on top of that, I can just guarantee you they will be a client who micromanages you. As I said in the previous slide, right? The clients who micromanage you, the clients who are notorious for micromanaging you are the clients who are on the lower end. And so obviously the clients who are on the lower end are clients who, you know, maybe money's tight or whatever. And so you can see this then directly correlating with this is if they ask for the price, then obviously price is a problem. And so if price is a problem and they still sign on with you for say 1,000 or maybe even 1,500, 2,000, if price is a problem, then they're gonna micromanage you. So you can see all of these kind of intertwine and why it's just mandatory that you never ever sign on clients who ask about pricing straight off the bat, because then if you do, these other ones, then, you know, these other points that we've gone through and going through, you'll see these kind of come to fruition as well in terms of micromanaging being a perfect example. Okay, and as I've kind of already touched on, clients who don't ask. So clients who don't mention pricing until the last 10 minutes of the sales call don't actually care about your price, right? These are the type of clients who it's like money isn't a problem for them. They're established enough, they're big enough where money just kind of isn't really a problem. And so they don't actually care about your price, because if they can see value in what you are offering, that is all they care about, right? If they can see value in what you're offering, they don't really care about price. They just want to ensure that if they bring you on board, they're actually going to get, you know, you are actually going to become a valuable asset to their brand month in, month out, okay? And so they truly care more about investing into the growth of their business rather than trying to save as much money as they can on the front end, right? They're way more willing to invest $10,000 a month into their business if they know that that 10,000 is going to then convert into 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000, whatever. That's what they care about more. They do not care about trying to save as much money on the front end because they understand the dynamics to creating a successful business. And just as like a real life example, one of my great clients who I am currently working with actually added money on top of my monthly retainer that I asked for. Okay, so this just goes to show like clients who are genuinely the best clients to work with don't care about money that much, that this client in particular I'm talking about, he even said to me he wanted to add more on than what I originally asked. Okay, so I was on the sales call, I said, first 3 months, I said 4,000 flat fee, right? This was probably around 2 months ago at the point of recording. Yeah, it was the start of February. Start of February at the point of recording this, so a couple months back. And as I said, I hopped on the sales call with him. I went through the whole thing, didn't mention any prices. We was just talking about the value and what I can do for them and, you know, where they're currently at, all that type of stuff. The sales, as I say, that's what we're gonna go through in a few of the coming weeks. However, we went through it all. As I said, we didn't mention pricing until the very last 10 minutes of the call. I mentioned my price. of $4,000 per month flat fee for the first 3 months. After the initial 3 months, I said we can renegotiate to see what kind of necessary steps we should be taking moving forward. Obviously depicted by the results that we get in the initial 3 months. And he literally said to me, okay, cool, happy with that. I also want to add on 10% on top of that, so you're more incentivized to deliver results for us. Like, that's what he said. He literally added money on top of the fee that I asked. That's how much just the high caliber clients just don't care about pricing, okay? So obviously, I'm sure you can now see that, like, if somebody replies to your first ever email, you know, your outreach email, if they reply to that email asking about what the prices is, just cut them off, just move on, okay? They're never gonna be a good client. The $1,000, the $1,500 that you'll make from them just is so not worth it, okay? So, clients who qualify, so 5 or more. Within week 3, we will be going into very deep detail on how to qualify prospects before you reach out to them. You will see that we have a 6-part qualification process, and so you never ever want to reach out to a brand who doesn't qualify on at least 5 of those 6 qualification points, okay? But really, ideally, you want them to qualify on all 6. Okay, and so what this does is it serves multiple purposes. So the qualification process serves a multitude of purposes. One of these purposes being that it makes your job as easy as possible. Okay, we do this by ensuring that the brand has strong foundations currently in which you can come in and build off of, rather than physically building the foundations yourself, which is much harder. Okay, so again, we're going to be going into this in a lot more detail in week 3, but just know that the qualification process serves so many purposes, and as I say, one of them being to make your job as easy as possible. Okay, I've implemented this qualification process so your job genuinely becomes as easy as possible when it comes to delivering results. And so just like anything, if you've already got some foundations to work off of, it's going to be so much easier for you than you trying to build those foundations yourself, right? Because you'll have to go through the trials and tribulations and all that type of stuff. However, if this foundation's already there, you know, you'll be able to easily see what works, what doesn't. You'll have a bunch of audiences to just run ads to. And I won't go ahead and say half the work's already done for you, but a good portion of the work is already done for you, and you can just kind of scale things from there. And again, obviously that kind of comes into the service delivery aspect, and we'll be going through this in detail in the service delivery week. But as I say, if you reach out to a client who doesn't qualify in 5 or more, then it's just almost like you're making your job unnecessarily hard, right? Because if they don't qualify in 5 or more, then obviously there's a few things that they don't have that they should have. And so because they don't have those things, your job just becomes unnecessarily harder. That's really all it comes down to. And so, as I say, our client avatar is one that qualifies on 5 or more of the 6-part qualification process, ideally on all points, because then your job is going to be super easy, or it's going to be easier, and a bunch of other things, again, that we'll cover in the outreach week when we go through the specific qualification process. Okay, so underlying foundation. This really serves as the underlying foundation to all other points I've covered for our client avatar, okay? You will find 90% of those who qualify in the 6-part qualification process will fit our client avatar. So all of this stuff, guys, intertwines. It's not like, you know, one thing over here and then another thing over here and then, you know, like really spotty around. Like, it's all intertwines and it all serves each other. Right, it all contributes to each other, and you'll see more about this in the qualification process as well. So, ensure clients understand expectations. This may be one of, if not the most important points that we'll cover in this kind of client avatar, is that your client avatar must understand expectations, because this also will, just this one point here fuels every single other point. You know, almost every single other point is like a subsection of this point, in that they understand expectations. Because basically what I'm trying to get at is, like, if they don't understand the expectations, then all this other stuff will not be met either, right? So, like, for example, if they don't understand the expectations, your client will micromanage you. Like it's a given. Your client will micromanage you if they don't understand the expectations or they don't agree to the expectations. So it's almost like if you get this one down packed, if you make sure that your client understands the expectations, kind of almost everything else somewhat falls into place automatically just by ensuring that they understand the expectations, okay? So as I say, this is a very, very important point to understand. So understand this, okay? Understand this. When you and your agency start working with a client, you do not become an employee of that business. Instead, you become a service provider who is helping that business get from where they are currently to where they want to get to. You as the owner of your agency are on the same level as the client. Presumably the owner of the Ecomm brand is the client that you're working with directly, right? You're on the same level as that person. And so because of this, you do not get treated like an employee of their business. And so ensuring that they understand the expectations you set is vital. I've already touched on this, okay? I feel like I've somewhat repeated myself. I need to stop going on these big side tangents. This is just a super important module, but obviously I've already touched on this. But it's so important, okay? It's so, so important. You do not become an employee of their business. You do not get treated like an employee of their business, okay? And the way that you ensure that you don't get treated like an employee of their business, the way that you ensure that they know that you're not, the way that you ensure that the client knows you aren't becoming an employee of their business is by ensuring that they understand the expectations, okay? So you can see it all kind of playing out, and you can see just why it's so, so important that you get your client to understand the expectations crystal clear, okay? So expectations. When it comes to setting expectations, you need to make sure you lay out exactly what it is that you do and what you don't do, okay? Lay out that you do not communicate anywhere outside of Slack, and that if they message you outside of Slack, then you will not respond. Make it crystal clear that you and your agency do not need to work with them. Rather, you have chose to work with them due to you genuinely believing you can generate them amazing results, okay? So all of these things, it's so important that you get across to the client. For example, like I say, communication. You do not communicate anywhere outside of Slack. Make it clear in the expectations, okay? And setting expectations comes, you do this within the onboarding. Again, we're gonna be covering this, so don't worry. But setting expectations, setting, for example, the expectation of communication. If they message you on WhatsApp or email, you won't respond because it's not within Slack, okay? And so if they go ahead and do that when they sign on with you, and you don't respond, at least they won't be shocked because you've already set that expectation, okay? And also other things like, just making it so clear to them that you do not need the client, rather they need you, okay? They need you more than you need them. And this is a concept that we'll be discussing in the sales week, okay? But you need to make that clear to them as well, because, if they get the slightest inkling that you need them, then they're just gonna play you around because they know they can and they know that you won't leave them, okay? So let's have a look at what to do if they don't understand, okay? Because, you setting these expectations, you need to do that. However, you may get I've not had it, but you may get a client where they just don't understand or they don't agree. So what do you do in what do you do in those cases? Well, if you have laid out the expectations and they either don't understand or don't agree and are pushing to get other stuff from you, whatever that may be, what do you do? As I say, what would you do in that situation? Well, just like if any one of the other points are not met or are agreed to, you simply move on. Trust me, working with amazing clients is far more important and beneficial than you working with a client who doesn't suit our client avatar. So as I said before, working with amazing clients is far more important than you working with a client who doesn't suit this client avatar, but you're just with them for the money, okay? Because as I say, your happiness with your agency is going to just plummet, and your motivation will plummet as well, because as I kind of touched on before, you've had this big thing about getting clients is going to be amazing. Imagine working with a client who's paying me, $2,000 a month, for example, pay me $2,000 a month. Imagine working with them, communicating with them through Slack, delivering results. And then you get to that point, but you've gotten to that point with a client who doesn't suit this client avatar. As I say, it's not gonna be what you had in your head. It's not gonna be what you had in your head, so it's gonna be a massive burden to you. You're gonna feel just terrible because this big thing that you've always thought, it isn't actually like that. And it's not that it's not like that, it's just because it doesn't work that way with clients who don't suit our client avatar, okay? So, red flags. Each and every one of these points are aspects and characteristics that all your clients should obtain, okay? Every single one of your clients, as I say, should obtain these aspects and characteristics, right? They should hit and, I don't wanna use the word qualify, but they should meet every single one of those 5 points. And so if you see any prospect or client have/adopt any of these points and fall out of line, then you must move on. Okay, so whether it's the 5th month working with a specific client or it's the first ever contact you have had with the prospect, it doesn't matter, okay? You need to move on. So, you know, I've had it, I think, once, you know, I can't remember, but I think it's one. I've definitely had it once or twice where, you know, we started out with a client. Obviously, I was implementing this client avatar. I started out with them. They fit. They were perfect. You know, they were, you know, they held the same characteristics as my ideal client avatar that we've just gone through. So I moved forward with them, right? Signed them on, onboarded them and everything like that. It got to the 4th month. You know, we were delivering great results. It was all good. Everything was running smoothly, but they started to fall out of line. They started to message me on different mediums. They did 2 things. They started to message me on different mediums and they started to ask for more than what I do. And with myself and my agency, we do more than what we initially say, but that's because we do it on our part and our clients don't expect it because we've set those expectations, okay? However, it started to come from them. They wanted us to build messenger bots. They wanted us to do email marketing for them. And it's like, we don't do that. Right? Yes, we assist with that. We, you know, myself and my team, more so my team, go ahead and assist with that and help out clients where they need help. But that's because we do it off of our own back. We never get forced to do it by our clients. This specific client I'm talking about, she was kind of forcing us to do it. She was almost saying like, kind of do it or we're gonna leave, in a way, you know? So that's the biggest red flag. And like I say, that was the 4th month in. So, just like if they don't meet any one of those points, we moved on. I dropped her, moved on because I could see she started to fall out of line. Okay, so if it's like that, even if you're deep into the relationship and they start to fall out of line, just move on. Obviously you can give them, you know, you can kind of say to them like, you know, with that client, you know, I could have said, look, this is what we do, you know, just kind of almost restate the expectations, and if they kind of then get back to normal and they follow the expectations, then that's fine, you can stay with them. Or if they continue to not abide by the rules, just move on, okay? So as I say, if you're that deep into with a client, and you know, it's like the 4th month or it's the 5th month working with them and they start to fall out of line, just move on. Or conversely, even if it's the very first contact that you've ever had with them, you've sent your outreach email and say, for example, they've replied to you asking for the price, just move on. Doesn't matter. If you see any of these red flags, move on, okay? Now, they are characteristics, okay? So because these points are characteristics that your clients uphold, they cannot be changed. And so if you see a client who is, for example, micromanaging you, it's because they are probably super low ticket and get flustered within their business rather than keep a level head. And so this will never change, right? It's never gonna change. It's a characteristic of that person. And you need to understand that characteristics won't change. How your client is today is for the most part how they will be in a year's time. You need to be ruthless with who you work with by ensuring they strictly stick to our client avatar. So by being ruthless with who you work with, as I said, is going to directly correlate with the level of happiness that you have with your agency. And this is kind of the main point why I'm so strict and so ruthless with my expectations with my clients, and why this video is I'm being so serious, because it's so important, right? And as I said, the main reason being is that it directly correlates with your happiness with your agency, right? Just by implementing this, you will be so much more happier. So it's a very, very important thing, okay? And as I say, like, if a perfect example, using the example of if you've sent out an outreach, they replied back to you asking about the price, because these are characteristics that they hold. Don't think that because it's the first outreach, I understand they probably will change once they know me or once they come on as a client or whatever. Don't think that, because their characteristics, they do not change for the most part. Obviously there's always exceptions to the rule. I'm talking about majority. They won't change. So how they are right then, that day, is how they're going to be in a year's time. So if you start working with them, they're going to be that same person. They're going to be they're going to have those same characteristics, and they're going to be a terrible client at the end of the day, okay? So here's your action items, okay? What I want you to do from this module is write out what your client avatar looks like, i.e. write out these these 5 points that kind of make up our ideal client avatar, okay? Write them out, and so you can reread them every single day. So when you, so you can reread them every single day, and when you come across a client, okay, these will be so ingrained into your head that you will know exactly straight off the bat as to whether they suit our client avatar or whether they don't, okay? That's obviously, as I say, gonna help you long term, because you're never ever gonna waste any time with any clients, because you know exactly who's your client avatar and you know exactly who isn't, so then you only ever move forward with the clients who suit our client avatar, okay? Now, as I say, consistently refer back to that client avatar you created. So every single day, once you've wrote out exactly who the client avatar is using those 5 points, and potentially some other things as well that you personally add in, consistently refer back to it every single day, consistently read over it, so as I say, you know exactly who you're looking for and exactly who you aren't. And anytime you are in the process of trying to sign a client, ensure that they fit your client avatar, okay? So, just wanted to leave you with this one today, guys. You miss every shot you don't take, okay? Every shot you don't take, you miss. So you start taking your shots, start implementing what we're going through in this program, because if you just watch this program alone, you're not going to get any results, right? You're not going to get any results. So you need to watch the program, rewatch the program, make sure you're doing every single action set that we go through. But also you need to be making sure that you're taking shots. You need to be making sure that you're taking action consistently every single day. And remember, we do not look at our agency in 5 months terms, rather in 5-year terms. Okay, guys, so I know a bit of a longer module today, but it's very, very important that you understand what we've gone through. So as I say, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you start implementing this with every single client you work with, and be ruthless with who you work with. And with that being said, I will see you in the next module.